Hey guys, so I would like to read to you one of my journal entries from one of my handwritten journals. And the reason I'd like to share it is because I kind of see it as like an introduction to my autobiography. But of course it is a draft. So yeah, I do really plan on writing an autobiography in my lifetime because of all the things that I've experienced. And how I plan on going about that is by creating an astrological timeline according to my life. So I think that it would be rather entertaining and interesting to see how my life experience correlate with the astrological energies. So anyways, I'm going to try to read this as clearly as I can without stuttering or messing up, so bear with me. But do hang tight and stick through this while I read it, because I think that you guys might really enjoy this. So you might learn a little bit about me too, or a little more about me. Okay. My name is Mandy Ann Ferguson, and I was born on November 16th, 1986, at precisely 10:12 a.m. in Bakersfield, California. I am a high-functioning autistic, formerly known as Asperger syndrome, and my savant skill is astrology. When I was around the age of 7, my mom, then an assistant librarian, brought me home my first astrology book. It was a simple book that told the mythological story for each zodiac sign, and it also came with glow-in-the-dark stickers of the constellations. I was so obsessive about it, and I would look at it every day for years, until one day, when I was around the age of 15, I decided that I was going to research astrology. Growing up, the internet was pretty much just being invented, so we didn't really have a consistent internet stream, if you will, until I was around, 16 or so. But anyways, at that time, I hopped onto the internet back when Yahoo was the latest and greatest for email, messenger, news, a search engine, and etc. And I was led to this Yahoo website that was dedicated to astrology. It was then that I learned there was much more to a person's personality than just his or her sun sign. It was one morning when I woke up and I asked my mom for my birth certificate so I could get my natal chart calculated at this Yahoo website. She found it, gave it to me, of course, and when she did, I was so thrilled. Within a matter of minutes, waiting for the dial-up to load the pages, I had my natal chart in front of me. I didn't really know how to research things on the internet back then, especially because the information online at the time was very limited, but I told my mom that I was interested in reading about astrology so I could learn about my chart. My mom is what astrologers call a double Gemini, so being that she naturally loved to read books, she took me to this bookstore in Concord called Half Price Books. There was, and still is to this day, a New Age / occult section in there, and that's where I got my first real astrology book, and it was called Astrology for Beginners. That day, I swear, I spent reading the entire book and applying it to my natal chart as I read along. When I got what I needed out of it, I started to explore the internet, and that's when I came across astrology.com. I studied and worked off that website and the Yahoo one for years until I decided that I wanted to be social. One fine day, I decided to switch to Hotmail because I discovered MSN's 2 astrology chat rooms. The first one that was listed, however, was the most popular and serious chat room out of the 2. I was never social, though, and for the first few times of visiting the room, I would sit there and observe the conversations between everyone. Everyone was so knowledgeable about the subject, too, and they were all exchanging their natal charts to examine each other's. I clicked on the links as they appeared in the conversations, and that's when I discovered astro.com, the best website for all astrological research. Since that day, I continue to use that website for my own personal research projects. Like right now, I have this other journal going that I'm calling the Moon Experiment, and it's me journaling my daily activities and emotions according to the specific moon phases. I suppose I am trying to prove a point that our energies are connected to the planets, which control every aspect of our lives. Anyways, I met some really good people from that chat room, and I'm still friends with them to this day. They've all taught me about astrology in one way or another, even if only by interacting with them and studying their natal charts. I can say that most of my knowledge of astrology is from reading Astrology for Beginners and Parker's Astrology, online resources, and studying my family's and friends' natal charts. However, at first, I spent years studying my own chart. I can say from experience that the best way to understand a given subject is to apply it to your life on a daily basis, not just by studying it, but also by living it, experimenting with the things you've learned. I have discovered many things on my own solely by studying the charts of family and friends. Even though astrology is my savant skill, I'm no expert on the subject, and there are still many things I need to learn about. Things that I am aware of that exist in astrology, like, for a very small example, angular houses, and other much more complicating things, like the different types of astrology there are. Every once in a while, when I meet someone new, I ask for their information and then study their charts for them and make simple predictions. In my experience, more often than not, people are extremely curious about what I have to say, so they willingly and excitedly cooperate, and at the end of their sessions, they're in disbelief. What I like to do is go in order, beginning with the first house, and I explain their personalities to them. I talk about their pasts, and I talk about their current situations, and I talk about what they should expect to happen in their near future. The kicker, though, is when I discuss their north nodes with them. The nodes of the moon are a recent discovery of mine, and they have everything to do with our past lives and what we need to accomplish in this lifetime. When people learn of what their north nodes are, their missions in life, they are in disbelief, because what we are here to do is to accomplish our greatest fears. And when they learn of their fears and needing to face them in order to excel our souls, if you will, they begin to focus their energies in the right direction, and life suddenly becomes easier and a happier experience. When I first learned of my North Node, I had an interesting experience. At the time, Pluto was transiting over my Uranus and Neptune in my 12th house, destroying my psyche and giving me anxiety, depression, and acute insomnia, to name a few of my problems. It was when I was diagnosed with autism. I came across this legitimate website that was discussing Carl Jung's background as a psychologist, and with his North Node in Aries in the 3rd house, just like mine. And he had a Capricorn rising like I do, and it is said he may have also had Asperger's too. So it said that Jung had a very close and long relationship with Sigmund Freud, and it told of the story when the two of them split up as colleagues and friends. It explained that people with Jung's, Freud's, and our North Nodes in Aries are to learn to be independent, to learn to be alone, to establish a relationship with ourselves. And with it being in the 3rd house, it explained that we need to honestly and directly verbally express ourselves with people, to not care about what anyone thinks of us, to study and teach ourselves subjects of substance that matter to us, to be pioneers in a given subject or subjects, to establish good relations with siblings, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, and cousins, and also to learn how to write down our thoughts. Sorry, I stalled. Anyways, to better explain what I'm trying to say, learning about my North Node taught me that the source of my problems were because of my relationships, and as a result, I was degressing in life quickly and being consumed by pills, pot, and cigarettes. I was slowly dying because I was holding on to an unhealthy relationship, like Jung's and Freud's, and I became so dependent on the person that I thought I came to love that when I decided to walk away from her, I fell apart psychologically, and I was very afraid to be separated from her and to not have her presence next to me at night while I slept, if I slept. When Pluto crept nearer my 1st house was when I left my girlfriend of almost 5 years, and I made the hardest but best decision for myself leaving her, even if it meant that I would have a psychological breakdown. I saw myself as Jung when Freud backed out of their relationship because he felt that they no longer agreed on their opinions in psychology anymore. And Jung also had a psychological breakdown as a result of that breakup. But it was only a momentary relapse in my life, just like Jung's, when my girlfriend and I officially ended it. We'd gotten back together about a month or so after I had left, and we carried on a long-distance relationship. However, 3 or 4 months later, I found out that she was cheating on me with a guy, and they had already begun a relationship, even while she and I were maintaining a long-distance relationship. It really fucked me up emotionally, and I didn't sleep for 3 days because I felt like my heart was dying and my mind was racing with thoughts and questions that even to this day, this very day, still have not been answered. Learning about my North Node really helped me to push myself to face my fears. I was afraid to be alone, and when I moved into my mom's, she became like my prisoner because I needed her presence, especially next to me at night while I was falling asleep. I had become so afraid after leaving my girlfriend, so afraid that she wasn't with me. My mom, though, she finally got fed up with me being so afraid and needing her, so I started seeing a therapist who introduced me to a technique called exposure. And it's when one slowly introduces themselves to their fears until they are no longer afraid. I personally went from having my mom next to my side at night while I fell asleep, to having her sit on the recliner in the same room, to having her sit at the dining room table a few feet away, to her going to her bedroom at a decent hour with her door open, to her sleeping with her door shut, and now to spending the night at her friend's house a few times a week. Of course, at first, though, my mom would only stay the night at her friend's once a month, then once a week. She recently went on a 4-day trip to Oregon as well, and I did just fine by myself. My point is, I've conquered my fear of being alone and sleeping alone. Sometimes I have a desire to be with a special woman, but then I remind myself that because my South Node is in Libra in the 9th house, relationships are deadly territory for me, and so is religion. Ever since I accomplished this huge part of my North Node, being alone, my life has been flowing smoothly, and I've been more productive by writing in my journals, blogging on Tumblr, vlogging on YouTube, and entertaining and socializing with Facebook friends. I'm also slowly coming down from my medications too. That's my next project, and with Pluto transiting my first house right now, it will be easier to make this transition and drop 12th house habits. I have quit smoking too, but I am using Nicorette very simply and wisely. I feel that I will stop this habit completely very soon. So as you guys know, that's old information. I've been nicotine-free for 2 months. Okay. As you can see, since I have been studying astrology informally, I have been tracking my life according to the planets, and everything I've been able to predict has come true. I have read in the book Asperger that people with autism have this sixth sense of just knowing things, and I can honestly say that I've had my share of premonitions. Like when I randomly discovered North Nodes through online research, I had said something to my then girlfriend at the time to the extent of, I think we choose the time, month, day, year, and year, that we're born before we enter our next lives. We choose everything we are meant to experience. We choose our soul's mission. At that website discussing Jung that I mentioned earlier, the author of the article had quoted Jung to my exact words, or I had quoted him precisely. It was amazing, and then learning about our astrological similarities blew my mind. I mean, the guy used to incorporate astrology with psychology and counsel his patients accordingly. He would pinpoint their North Nodes and tell them what they needed to do in this lifetime so they can all complete their life's missions. As a result, many of his patients recovered from their problems because they learned to accomplish their North Node's missions. What makes me more unique than other high-functioning autistics is that for me to have this neurological social disorder, I have spent a great deal of my life learning to understand people and their behaviors based on studying their natal charts and socially interacting with them. I have met so many people in my 28 years of life, and a good majority of them I have had the pleasure of studying their charts. As a result, I have become very keen at identifying a person's sun, moon, rising, Mars, and Mercury signs upon interacting with them. And as I delve deeper with the questions, I am able to figure which houses these planets reside in. Only once have I ever formulated a friend's chart after talking to him about his characteristics and lifestyle within a few minutes of his exact birth time. All it took was for me to identify his moon sign, which was Aquarius, and because we are similar, I just knew he had a 4th house moon because he is playful, childish, and close to his mom like I am. I've met many people with Aquarius moons and Scorpio risings, so when I calculated his chart, I made it according to a Virgo sun, Aquarius moon, and Scorpio rising. When I had the moon positioned in the 4th house, we figured out his actual birth time, compared it to my chart, and then saw that I was within minutes of his birth time. Even though I have social anxiety disorder to an extent, I have learned to cope with it by inviting people into my talent and socializing with them. It is sometimes a great pleasure to me to have this gift of reading people and guessing their astrological traits correctly. I used to be a loss prevention investigator at Six Flags in Vallejo, and what I did was I used the Wicklander-Zulawski method of interrogation to get dishonest employees to confess to embezzlement. I would look up their birth dates on their records, and I would know their sun signs. When they would sit across from me in the interrogation room, I would study them and and talk to them the way their signs desired. And because I was able to appeal to their energies, I never did not get a confession. It was an interesting job, to say the least, and while I was working there, I was attending Sac State for criminal justice, and interrogation and evidence were my areas of interest in my studies throughout my major. I eventually was laid off from that job when Saturn entered my 10th house, so I collected unemployment and ended up getting my useless bachelor's degree in criminal justice. It's useless to me because I could care less about the system and the government, but going to college did teach me my rights, how to write, how to research, and how to think critically. It taught me how to BS the BSers, if you will. So I am very in tune with the energies around me, and I can also tell when planets are retrograde based on experience and what sign the moon currently resides in. It's all about being observant towards every aspect of your environment and the people in it. I find great pleasure in observing individuals and groups of people and how they interact with me and others, because astrology is my life, and without it, I would be lost. It is the answer to all of life's unexplained questions, and I feel that not only am I here to accomplish personal goals, but also to tell the world the truth of its existence and why we're all really here. Astrology is the most real subject I've ever had the pleasure of discovering and learning. So, there you have it. That was the entry. And it is going on 18 minutes now. So, yeah, I hope that you guys found that a little interesting. So, yeah, if you did, and if you have any questions, totally comment or message me, okay? And, I'll say this again, too. If any of you want me to look at your birth chart, you just got to give me your information, and don't worry, I'm not going to do anything crazy with it. I'm just going to get your chart done. So yeah, if you have any questions about like why shit is happening in your life right now, or like why you're the way you are, and you want to know what your mission is, then just give me your information. All I need to know is when you were born, your birth date, and like me, November 16th, 1986. And I need to know your time of birth and where you were born. So, like I said earlier, I was born at 10:12 in the morning, and I was born in Bakersfield, California. So, if you can give me those pieces of information, then I'd be more than happy and interested to do that for you. And, answer any questions that you may have about your life. So, okay, that's all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will be back.